Well, this past weekend, we got our hands on Concord through the closed beta. This was a chance for us to experience the game firsthand, to check out the gameplay feel, the characters, and some of the game modes. Well, today, I'm going to dive into my first impressions of Concord and let you know what I thought about it. Plus also, I've got some feedback as well. Well, without any delay, let's dive into the Concord beta. And first of all, I want to talk about the gameplay. So, the most important thing about a first-person shooter is how it feels and also the gameplay too. So I'm happy to say the game feels really, really good. The gunplay feel is great, and the traversal around the environment is quick and easy, depending on your character, of course. So the gunplay feels snappy, plus the new control scheme is easy to understand and also easy to get to grips with as well. Now, I tried out every character during the beta just to get a sense of the different characters, plus also their unique weapons and their playstyles. Then I went back and focused on a few that I enjoyed the most. So it's quick to get into games in Concord, and the HUD is clean and simple to understand. Plus also when you're loading into matches, you can pull up an info card related to the weapons and abilities of your character. So weapons do feel good, and there's a nice kick to the hand cannons, the auto rifles, the pulse rifles, and the rocket launchers, and everything like that. So you can feel the pedigree in the developers and the experience they've had working on some of the top first-person shooters in the industry. The foundations are solid. Now they've just got to build something on top to really help the core mechanics shine. So I've already spoken about the gunplay, feeling good right off the bat. However, Firewalk Studios, they're doing some quite interesting things here with stacking buffs across characters. So in other games like Overwatch, you might want to main a certain character, but here in Concord, it feels like the development team want you to rotate around characters and perhaps not have a main character, but a main group of characters that you play with often. For example, each character has a perk, and it might be something like increased reload speed or increased weapon range. And when you die, you pick another character, and then you get another buff, and they stack over the match time. Therefore, players are incentivized to use multiple characters. Now, I do think this is a nice feature, and there's a group of characters that I like playing as already. However, I don't really think it's explained very well. And to be honest, it could do with a tutorial, and that is not the only thing that could do with a tutorial. There's a few other things that I want to get to a bit later on. Next up, let's talk about the characters. There's loads of characters to choose from in Concord that's going to cater for all types of players. I think there's 16 overall that are in the closed beta. So I started out with Lennox. You know, he's got a couple of hand cannons. He can heal on command, plus he's also got a grenade. So he's very, very similar to a hunter in Destiny 2. That's probably why I tried him out first of all. Then you got Tio. He's your sort of standard first-person shooter character with an auto rifle. Starchild is similar to the Incredible Hulk, although he's got a shotgun and can run into a group of players and slam into the ground. Amari plays the tank role. She's got a minigun, plus also can apply overshields to teammates and also uses a literal shield as well. You got Vale, a sniper with a jump ability to get her quickly into the air, and she can take the precise sniper shots. Then you got the more interesting picks like Lark, who appears to be some sort of alien who uses plants and spores to his advantage. So for example, you can place down an item and then teleport back to it if you get in trouble. So you can basically create your own fast travel point and then use it as an escape route. Then you've got Itzy, and Itzy is probably one of my favourite characters. Itzy is a very fast character with an SMG, plus also her abilities include a teleport with a decoy dodge. That is very, very cool. I didn't get as much time playing with her as it was towards the end of the closed beta, but she really stood out to me as one of the best characters. You know, this is just a selection of some of the characters, but there's a good amount of characters here, plus variety, and also switching between characters wasn't too difficult either. And my favourites coming out of the beta include Lennox, Haymar, Teo and Itzy, but I'm sure that will probably shift over time. I didn't really think it was hard to learn the new characters. I tried them all out, and it only took a few minutes or a few rounds to get into the flow. It felt like a very quick process because they're not super in-depth characters. You basically got a weapon, sometimes a secondary weapon, 2 abilities and a dodge, and that moveset works across multiple characters. You just simply have to adjust your tactics ever so slightly depending on what your character has. Yeah, one thing I really would like to see is speeding up the big characters. They're just too slow at the moment. And if you die and you respawn back way across the map, you're away from the action. It just takes an absolute age to get back to your team. Next up, let's talk about the game modes. So I spent a lot of time in the non-competitive playlist playing Takedown and Trophy Hunt. These were the most fun game modes for me. Takedown's your standard team deathmatch mode. Then you got Trophy Hunt, which is similar to Kill Confirmed, or Survival from Destiny 2, where you got to kill an enemy, then pick up a tag or an item or something like that. There's also a competitive playlist as well, which included Clash Point. Clash Point is where you have to defend a particular zone, and then other modes are going to be coming later on, like Cargo Run, which is similar to something that you'd find in Overwatch. Also, these are the game modes that I would expect from a game like this, and also I did like the variety of competitive and non-competitive game modes. It seems like Concord is going for a few different audiences here. You got your non-competitive first-person shooter fans like from Destiny 2, you got your more competitive on the Valorant side of things, and I also think they're going after the Overwatch fans as well. So one thing that is missing in the beta, and it's kind of a game mode, is a training mode, or also any kind of tutorial that explains how the game works or how the characters work. I think there's plenty of good ideas here in Concord, decent character designs, and players would really benefit from a tutorial or a training mode or even a shooting range. So while the characters are striking, Concord doesn't really communicate to me what they do with the short time that I've got to select a character, so it'd be really good to try out characters in training before going into a match. So I'd like to see more communication to the players about the features in the game, so how the characters work, what weapons they have, abilities, how do the stacking perk system work, how does the crew builder work, what about the variants? These are all solid ideas, but if people don't know about these features, and if they don't use the features, they may enjoy the game less and become less likely to come back and play again in the future. Firewalk is going to want to have weekly active players, and for that they're going to need to explain the benefits of Concord to the audience and get them to the fun as quickly as possible. So I understand for the beta, gameplay, maps and characters, they are most likely the highest priority, but now I'd like to see some added extras to help players understand what Concord is and how it differentiates itself from the competition. Next up, we got the maps. So we've got 3 maps to play on during the beta. All the maps, they've got good sight lines, there's good verticality on the maps, plus also there's central zones where the action takes place. I think all the maps are well designed, although the standout map for me was the one with the ball in the middle. It's kind of the purple crystal kind of thing. None of the maps really blew me away. All of the maps were serviceable. I'm really looking forward to what else the team has in the locker. Next up, let's talk about progression. So as you play, you're going to earn experience points and level up. As you unlock levels, you're going to get cosmetics, and you'll also open up new game modes as well. So it's fairly standard progression for a first-person shooter like this. I would say I found the progression pretty slow, so it'd be good to see Firewalk Studios make this game feel even more rewarding. There's definitely potential here, but it's too slow as of the beta for my personal preference. Next up, let's talk about the narrative. So a lot has been made of these vignettes, so I found the production value and the writing to be pretty good. At the end of the day, so I think my expectations for the narrative was pretty low after that showcase introduction back at the PlayStation Showcase earlier on in the summer. At the end of the day, though, I think it all comes down to gameplay. If the gameplay is good, then I'm going to want to get invested in the characters. Thankfully, the gameplay is good, so I'm really looking forward to see where the story is going to go. People have been really quick to dismiss the narrative in Concord, but I think if Firewalk can get players hooked on the gameplay, fans are going to want to find out more about the characters. And I am looking forward to where this could go, as I think the production value is high, and there's also good potential here. Okay, next up, let's talk about the price. So the price point is an interesting conversation. Personally, I don't mind paying the $40 to get the game. You get all the characters, the maps, the modes, everything. Then you level up the Battle Pass for cosmetics. So there's definitely benefits to paying for the game. This is going to keep out the majority of cheaters. Plus, you can also focus on the cosmetics. And cheaters, they're rife in any free-to-play shooter. So this is one way of putting a barrier there. So while $40 isn't a major issue for me personally, I think the expectation of the audience, that is something different altogether, given the majority of first-person shooters are free to play. So I do think the price is going to be a barrier to entry for a lot of players. And games like this live or die by their player count. Steam numbers were just over 1,000 for the closed beta, And yes, you could point to this being a PlayStation 5 game and the majority of players being there. However, let's look back at early in 2024. A large part of the success of Helldivers 2 was down to the PC players. So ideally, you want to entice as many players in as possible. So I like this game. The gameplay is fun, and I could see this going somewhere and finding an audience. However, you want to remove as many barriers to entry as possible in a game like this. Convincing your friends to pay $40 may be a little bit much at this point, especially when you got other free games out there like Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Fortnite, Overwatch 2, Valorant, the finals. I could go on and on. So for me, the priority needs to be the player base and increasing that player base and getting as many players in the front door as quickly as possible and getting them playing the game. If that means changing your pricing strategy, then so be it. If this game launches with a lackluster player base, then it's more likely to go the way of Suicide Squad rather than Destiny 2. So in summary, I've got some feedback and improvements that I think might be useful for Firewalk Studios. So I've mentioned these points before, but I'm going to summarise them again. So first of all, speed up the bigger characters. They're too slow. Actually, the speed of all the characters could go up a notch. ITZY feels really good, really fun. And that's the level of fun that I want to feel from the characters. Explain the features better. The stacking perk system is really good. It's a nice innovation, but it needs to be explained through a tutorial, and also that text description just isn't enough. Progression at the moment is too slow. The game needs to feel more rewarding. Also, add a training mode or a shooting range. I think that would be a good thing for players. Also a tutorial as well. That would really help players. While the character designs are really, really good and they're striking, I do think a training mode, a shooting range or a tutorial would be really, really useful for players. So at this point, about a month out from launch, I would consider the price point and also what is this going to mean for the player base. I'm sure there's loads of forecasting that you can do. I'm sure there's loads of work going on at the studio for that, but I would consider making a pivot on the price point. Also, sell the unique benefits of Concord to us players more. Crew Builder, it's a great idea. I think it just needs explaining. Okay, let me know in the comments what you thought about the Concord beta, and if you're more or less likely to buy the game when it comes out in August. Also, it's worth noting we've got the open beta this weekend, so if you didn't get a chance to try out Concord last weekend in the closed beta, well, this weekend there is an open beta and you can play that on PlayStation 5 and also PC too. Well, that is it for this Concord beta, first impressions and also feedback video as well. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Don't forget you can hit that subscribe button down below for even more Concord content here on Endgame Express. You can also like the video and share the video too. That would really help me out here on the channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.